All right, so let's talk about something we've all seen, right? A train pulls into the station and it's got a smashed window or, it's covered in graffiti. It's a bummer to see, but have you ever actually stopped and thought, what happens now? Well, it turns out there's this incredibly complex, almost invisible system that kicks into high gear to fix that damage. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see how it works. Right? What actually happens next? That simple question, it's just the tip of this massive operational iceberg. We're talking about a whole web of different companies, super strict rulebooks, and, you guessed it, a lot of money. Getting that train car fixed and back on the tracks is a serious race against time, and it's a fascinating puzzle of logistics and figuring out who's responsible for what.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll meet the key players, the whole ecosystem behind the scenes. Then we're going to dig into the official rulebook that decides who pays for what. After that, we'll check out the digital tools that are bringing some serious order to all this chaos. And finally, we'll see what all this means for the trains we actually ride every day.
Okay, first up, the key players involved. Now, you might assume it's pretty simple, right? One company probably owns the train, runs it, and fixes it. But no, the reality is way more complicated. It's this whole web of different organizations, and fixing even one broken window requires this carefully choreographed dance between all of them. Okay, so this table looks like a bunch of corporate jargon. I get it, but there's actually a super simple way to think about it. Just imagine you're renting an apartment. The Roscoes, they're the landlords. They own the actual trains, the physical assets, and they want to protect their investment. The TOCs, the train operating companies, they're the tenants. They're the ones running the trains day to day, so they're on the hook for reporting any problems right away. And the maintainers, well, they're your building superintendent, the folks who actually show up, figure out what's wrong, and do the repairs. And, to round out our cast of characters, you've got Network Rail. These guys step in whenever the damage is tied to the infrastructure itself, like if a train hits a platform or when there are bigger issues like trespassing involved. They're a really crucial piece of that whole security and investigation puzzle. Okay, so we know who all the players are, but how do they figure out who's actually responsible? And let's be honest, this is the important part. Who foots the bill? Well, that's where a very, very detailed rulebook comes into play. So the first thing they do is figure out what kind of damage they're dealing with by sorting it into one of four buckets. You've got Category A for criminal stuff, like graffiti. Category B is for what they call operational damage. Think a door failing from being used thousands of times. Category C is just plain old fair wear and tear, like worn out carpets. And finally, Category D is for the big stuff, accidents and collisions. Getting this classification right from the get-go is absolutely critical. And that classification, that's what decides who opens their wallet. This matrix is where you can really follow the money. So for something like vandalism, the train operator might only pay a tiny slice of the bill, and the owner and insurance cover the rest. But if the damage came from an operational mistake, whoa, the operator's share shoots way, way up. And for simple wear and tear, that's 100% on the owner, the landlord. It's a really structured way to answer super complicated financial questions. And it doesn't stop there. On top of everything else, every single incident gets a severity score from 1 to 10. A 1 or a 2, that's just cosmetic, no big deal. But a 9 or a 10, that means there's an immediate safety risk, and that train is being pulled out of service, like right now. This whole system makes sure the most dangerous problems get fixed first, period. So you've got all these different companies, all of these rules, all of these scores. You can see how this could get messy fast. The potential for confusion, for delays, it's huge. And this is exactly where technology steps in with digital toolkits designed to bring some much-needed order to all of that chaos. And really, that's the whole point. In an environment with so many moving parts, the entire goal is to use technology to turn what was a messy, frustrating, and time-consuming process into something clear, streamlined, and totally transparent. So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, think about it. Instead of a messy chain of emails and phone calls, everyone sees the same visual map showing the exact damage location. Instead of arguing over what happened, you've got clear documentation with photos that have timestamps. Everyone involved can track the repair status in real time. I mean, just imagine going from chaotic phone calls to a shared live dashboard. It is a complete game changer for planning and figuring out costs. What a digital system really does is put a clock on everything. From the moment the damage happens, the TOC has 4 hours to report it through an app. Then, the next clock starts. In the next 48 hours, the maintainer has to assess the damage, and the owner has to approve the repair plan. And only after that does the repair work actually begin. This structure just gets rid of the delays and makes sure everybody knows exactly what they need to do and when. But honestly, this is probably the coolest part, the damage heat map. By plotting every single incident on a visual layout of the train, these incredible patterns start to jump out at you. Suddenly, you can see it plain as day. Are the same windows always getting smashed on a certain line? Are the same doors always failing? This isn't just data for fixing things anymore. This is intelligence for preventing them from breaking in the first place. All right, so that brings us to the big "so what" question. Why does managing all this stuff so efficiently actually matter to us? What's the real-world impact for the people riding the trains and for the network as a whole? The transformation here it's just massive. The old way was slow, it was a nightmare to manage, and it was full of arguments over who should pay for what. The new way is fast, streamlined, and transparent. But the biggest leap, the real breakthrough, is that shift from being purely reactive, just fixing things as they break, to being proactive and using data to stop problems before they can even start. And we're not just talking about fuzzy feelings of improvement. Success is measured in really specific, tangible ways. Things like how quickly can we get a train repaired and back in service? How many minutes of service disruption can we avoid? Are we seeing the same problems happen over and over again? These are the numbers that directly affect your journey. And this is where all that data, especially from the heat maps, really starts to pay off big time. If you know that a certain station is a hot spot for vandalism, well, you can invest in better CCTV there. If you see a specific door handle failing all the time, you can invest in more durable, vandal-resistant materials. The data literally tells you where to spend your money to make the biggest impact. So when you boil it all down, it really comes back to this. You get faster repairs, you get accurate cost tracking, and you get these incredibly smart data-driven ways to prevent problems. It's not just about fixing one broken window anymore. It's about creating this cycle of constant improvement that makes the entire network stronger and more reliable for all of us. So yeah, the next time you hop on a train that looks clean and undamaged, you'll know a little more about the invisible, complex dance of people, rules, and tech that makes it possible. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? If this data-driven approach can bring order to something as chaotic as a national railway system, what other messy systems in our world are just waiting for a similar transformation?